Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Overlock Triumph. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of this machine. So to start out with, over here on the side, we have the cords where you plug in your power cord and your foot control. Above that, you have the power switch. In front of that, we have the hand wheel, and there is an embossed arrow showing which way you roll the hand wheel, which is the normal way towards you. And then over here we have the differential feed. Now that has to do with the feed dogs. There's a set of feed dogs in front and set in back, and on neutral they pull the same amount. When it's up here, you can gather. The front feed dogs will pull more, so you can have gather like this. Also, it's good for if you have a knit that tends to get stretched out when it's sewn. You can bump this up a little bit to 1.3 or 1.5, depending on the knit, and get a straighter seam. So most of the time we want to keep that right there on neutral. Now this is a really nice feature. This little socket here is for the knee lifter, and you can push this and raise and lower your presser foot without having to use the lever. Now this is the lever that you would normally use. Also, if you have this in the up position and you push your knee lifter to the right, it puts your presser foot down. So this is the presser foot lifter. Now this is the selector for what kind of stitch you're going to do. Now if you're going to do a 4-thread overlock, which is what most of your serging is, it looks kind of like this, 4-thread overlock, you'd have this on A. Now you do have a stitch chart that comes with your machine that'll tell you what stitch to selector setting to do depending on the stitch that you're doing, but most of the time you want this on A. And then up here we have a thread path for doing your cover stitch looper. Now cover stitch is where, and this machine can do cover stitch, and this is, you can do either 2-thread narrow, 2-thread wide, or 3-thread. You can also do a chain stitch. It looks like that. So that's the looper tension for the chain stitch and cover stitch. And then this is an interesting way to make a wave stitch. Here we have, when you have this on wave and you have the correct settings, it will tighten and loosen your upper looper to make a nice edge like this. So that's what this is. For overlock, we want to leave it down like that. Then we have your handle, nice strong handle here at the top. And here we have the pathways for your overlock thread. This is the thread pathways right here. And notice there are no knobs to change your settings. That's what this lever is over here. Then up here we have 8 spool pins, and you think, wow, 8. Would you really ever use all 8? Well, actually you can. It shows you here one of these in your threading guide. One of them will show you how you can use all 8 spools, but normally you wouldn't. And for normal sewing, you're going to either be doing overlock sewing or cover stitch sewing. So it's different thread paths for each of those and different spool pins. Now here you have your thread tree. So when you're not using your serger, you push this down, and you notice that up here at the top it has these letters for cover stitch or for overlock depending on which you're doing. So we want to have that all the way up, and then you might not be able to see it, but it's also labeled down here underneath the spool pins which spool goes to which thread path up there. Okay, and then over here on the side, we have the needle thread tension for the needle threads that go to your chain and cover stitch needles right here. This is your presser foot pressure dial, so you can make it tighter or looser depending on your fabric and the kind of stitching you're doing. It just regulates how tightly the presser foot pushes against your fabric. This is the needle threader. Now, I will show you in a different video how to use this. It's a really neat feature to thread your needles easily. This is a thread cutter, so once you're done serging, you can just cut off your threads right there. Then in back here, we have this little lever here that you push on the foot holder, and that is a quick change so you can take off the foot easily. Now I'm going to show you more of what's going on down here. You also have 5 different places to have needles. You have the 3 for like if you're going to do 3-thread cover stitch. And then you have the 2 in the back, and that's going to be for your regular overlock or serging. Overlock and serging is basically the same thing. Okay, under here you can see there's 2 sets of feed dogs, one in back, one in front. This is the knife. Now this is what cuts off the edge of your fabric to give you that nice edge that the stitches right behind the knife form that nice overlock stitch on. Okay, and then you have your upper looper, your lower looper, and I'm going to move the hand wheel so you can see there is the chain looper right down there. Okay, and all of those loopers are in play or in motion. Even if you're not using the chain looper, it's still going to be moving as you're doing regular serging. Now, this little knob, I'm not going to move it right now because we're not going to get into cover stitch in this video, but this is what you'd use to lower this upper looper. It would just kind of park itself down and not be in play while we're doing cover stitch. Now also, you can lower your knife because you'd want to do that if you're doing a hem on cover stitch. The way to lower the knife is you push this forward. Now I notice that sometimes it helps to move your hand wheel as you're moving this little knob. Move your hand wheel, and there, we've got it in lock position. And you can see now that knife is not in play anymore. Okay, to put it back up, turn it the other way, and then take a few stitches, and it takes about 2 revolutions for that to come all the way up. So you need to use your hand wheel to move that until it comes all the way back up. And now you can see it's doing its job of if there was fabric in there, it would be cutting it as it goes. Okay, over here we have, this is for fine-tuning your looper tension. It would really only be useful if you were doing specialty threads, and most of the time I just leave it right there on neutral. Here is a sort of an auxiliary threading pathway, and that would also be for your specialty threads that maybe need a little less tension than going through the threading ports right here. And the book talks about how to use that. But for most regular sewing, just ignore that and ignore this too. Okay, over here we have a button that pushes a motor. Now right now if I push that, nothing's going to happen because we're not in threading. But that is how you thread your loopers, and it's a really cool, fast way to do it. I'm going to show you that in the threading video. This is the lever that you would use for putting it into threading. And then close these up, and that is basically this machine, the overview of the Triumph. Watch our other videos. We have lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines here on our YouTube channel. So if you found this to be helpful and you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. So thanks for watching. Bye.